high quality video of my taking roll. This is the halfway point. All right, so Kevin, Luis, Peyton, Robert, Kira. I know Ryan's around here somewhere.
Yeah, that's what I was I can remember his name, but yeah. He was putting things up.
There's Ryan. Doris, Kelly, Brewer.
Brewer here.
Yes,
You say Brewer?
I said and Brewer.
Oh, I
As-
just said no Brewer.
Is it Brewer? We're trusting that the name that she has on the official record is actually her name. I have not seen a birth certificate and fingerprints to match.
I can bring him.
That's so spiritual.
It was my great grandmother's maiden name.
Oh.
All right, so how does one add vectors? And notice that seemed to be a weak point for a number of you. By the way, there's a video under chapter 1 called Addition and Subtraction of Vectors. Some of you might want to take a look at that. If I have box on a ramp, I know that weight is acting down. There are other forces, but that's the one I care about right now. And then we break it up into its components. So I have that angle there is theta. I have the weight times the cosine of theta into the ramp, and weight times the sine of theta down the ramp. So my justification for doing that is very similar to, if I have 7 plus 5, for a long time, 7 plus 5 and 8 plus 5, I would have to think a moment before I would get those, because I could easily get them backwards. And the way I did it is I knew that 5 is 3 plus 2, and I know that's 10, so therefore it's 12. So my breaking 5 up into its parts is justified because those parts add up to this. Same thing true with vectors, just the addition's not as straightforward. I can justify this instead of writing weight like this, writing it as its components, because if I add the two vectors together, W cosine theta and W sine theta, adding them in the head to tail method, my resultant, otherwise known as the sum, is a vector from where I begin to where I end. So the sum of these two is equal to that, and that's how I can justify breaking it up. So if you're given arrows, vectors, later on phasors in 152, and you have to add them head to tail. But I'll let you check out that video again. Ask questions after you've seen it. And we are over there. So that's 8, 9, 10, 11. So master set 4 and 5. I know there's 2 of them, and I get 151, 251 backwards there. I think for 151, I have it 4-5 application and 4-5 concept. Yeah, so say both of them do it a week. Oh, yeah. What's the difference between speed and velocity?
Velocity's in a certain direction.
Yeah. So if I ask what's the velocity of something, what are the two things I'm expecting in the answer?
Speed and direction.
Yeah. Some of you forgot that. In terms of grading, I've started looking at the tests. I gave a quiz and 2 tests yesterday, so should have it all in one day. There will be test corrections. The way test corrections work is if you make an A on the test, you can bring it up to an A+. If you fail the test, you can bring it up to a C. And so the numbers are based on a 4.0 gradient scale where F is 0, D is 1, and so forth. So if you got a C on the test, those two set the scale, and then it's just 2 is halfway between those, and so halfway between those is a 3.15. And so this would be the maximum that you could get. And the big thing with test corrections is you need to convince me that you don't understand what's going on. The ideal is that you have one more chance to learn the material, or an additional chance. One more makes it sound like that's it. You have one more chance to show me that you understand the material. You'll have the rest of your life to understand it. And so I'll get those to you on Monday, and we'll set a date for when those are due. And also the grading system is set up, it looks complex, but it's set up so that if you're having a bad day, you're not completely screwed. So everyone has a bad day, and I hate for that bad day to be the day of the test. So I refer to it as shock-proof. So if you bombed yesterday, you have plenty of chances. Questions? I seem to recall that last time we were dealing with an object that was spinning around. Yes. Oh.
Could you go over, I think it was like the third question, it was the circle with the different angles and we had to find.
Oh, the sum of the vectors?
Yeah.
All right, these won't be the exact errors that I used there, but.
I know you talked about it at the beginning of class, but could you go into a little more detail?
So if I have an object with, let's just pretend that these are forces. It could be any vectors. It could be, these describe directions I moved. So I first moved like this, then I moved like that, then like that, and like that. Where am I relative to where I started? That would be a displacement. It could be 4 forces acting on an object. In which direction will the object accelerate? When you add them graphically, then it doesn't matter the order. Commutative property holds just like with scalars. Do you want to take the test right now?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going to leave that as a cliffhanger. I need to hand her something. No one got the super trivia question. I wasn't necessarily expecting anyone to, but it would have been really cool if someone had. But the reason why I did that one, there's a show called Only Connect. I don't know if you've seen the TV show Only Connect. It is probably the hardest game show I've ever seen. and it's a British series. And the first part is they give you they give you up to 4 clues, and you have to say what is in common to all 4 clues. The second part is there's a series, and you have to tell what the 4th one in the series. And part 3 is they give you what they call a wall. They give 16 words, and you have to figure out how they combine so that there's 4 different patterns in there, so you have to combine them. And then the last round is they give you a category, and then they take all the vowels out of the answers, put spaces in strange places, and you have to figure out what the word is.
Do you play Connections?
Pardon?
Do you play Connections on
New York
the
Times.
New York Times game?
No, I don't.
It's like that.
It's
You should.
Is that-
16 words, you have to find 4 groups of
Okay.
words. It's literally that. So
Okay,
they-
that's, my wife's favorite part is the connection wall. So,
Some of them are easy.
Some of them are
very
really
much
hard. Yesterday, did you guys see the double one? One of the words was also the category, like benchmark was one of the words and it was the name of the category.
Oh,
And that
Yeah.
really upset me. And then I was talking to my friend about it later and they switched the name of the category because people apparently were getting upset.
Midday.
Midday switched, yeah.
but there is a database with all of the only connect, that's where I'm getting it from. It's not worth your time to do that for the test, but if you enjoy that kind of thing, you could go in, click on which episode you want, and then, scroll down until you get to the wall. It's the 3rd section, so if you enjoy doing this. It is very British. There was one particular clue that, there's no way I'm gonna get it, so, I don't feel bad about it, but they started giving the clues, and it turned out that they were subsequent service stations along the M1 or something like that. Yeah. Not gonna get that one,
that's
so.
on you for not knowing the answer.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
but there've been I think I watched about 20 episodes before I finally got one. And maybe another 30, maybe 30 episodes before I finally got one before they did. But it feels so good. All right, anyway, where we last left off is I have 4 vectors here that I want to add. So imagine that these are each displacement vectors, and I want to find the total displacement. Well, I start some location and I walk that way, so those should be the exact same length, same direction. I'm now here. Then I walk this way. Same length, same direction. Now I'm here. Then this one. Again, I'm probably a little bit off, but same direction, same length, and then I walk this way. So where am I relative to where I started? Well, I started there and ended there, so my sum is where I began to where I ended. That's the sum. It looked like you still had a question.
So, for that answer, what would we put?
We just
That's
draw an
right.
arrow.
We just draw that?
Just draw the arrow.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
There were a couple of people who went for the geometric design and didn't actually add them, but in essence decorated those. Not the traditional way of doing this. I think some of you know who you are.
We don't like that.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
All right. Other questions?
Do you count for partial credit? Like if we had the math
Yeah.
right, or something?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that reminds me, some of you really don't like showing your work. I mean, that's the way you roll, I don't wanna crush that, but it's like, I survived a number of courses off partial credit, so I'm a believer in it. Not a fan of the all or nothing, which is why you don't see many multiple choice on my test, because those are typically all or nothing. And from a physics guy, too much reading. Also, my first year here, I had a student could not do multiple choice to save his life, bomb those, but all the free response ones he nailed. So. All right.